Welcome to Ed in Exile. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition of H.R. 302, Preventing a Patronage System Act. And the reason why I do so is that the executive branch needs to function in a way that helps the administration, the current president of the United States. President Trump had an executive order to make a section called Schedule F, where employees could be terminated.
This is super important because the president works for us, and we're going to terminate Biden.
This is very important. And the reason why I say so is I'm also a business owner. And it is very important for any business owner, any CEO, anyone running a company to be able to terminate people working under them.
Biden works for us. Time for Biden to go. By the way, you're going to see all of the Democrats agree that it's time for him to go after they lose the midterms.
This is an important function of the executive branch. Preventing a Patronage System Act takes that away. That makes it to where they can put people into positions where you cannot fire them. That's wrong.
Yeah, you got to be able to can these people. This is taking away more freedom from business owners, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is an active business owner and a successful one, is actually protecting our right to have our businesses.
This is not how the government should be working. It shouldn't be putting people in places, unelected bureaucrats, into positions and jobs where they cannot be terminated.
And this is key because this also applies to other unelected jobs like the FBI, which exert power over individuals, and the IRS. Everyone should be fireable because then that makes them have to perform.
Anyone should be fired. You see, there's a reason why the American people call Washington, D.C. the swamp, and it's not just because it's built on a swamp. It's called the swamp for a reason. Because the American people see the government as a place where they call swamp creatures, they think they never leave.
This is true. You can just see how highly people adore the idea of term limits. And these Washington people, they just go there to say whatever it takes to get reelected.
And in doing so, the Preventing a Patronage System Act, this bill will formally make it a federal law in order to just make that happen. You see, we really need a system in place. We need to make sure that we don't pass federal laws where people cannot be fired. It should never be the case. People should be fired if they're not doing a good job. People should be fired if they are not doing things effectively for the administration they work for.
It's just like our midterm elections. All we're doing is firing the Democrats. You know, this isn't some rah-rah Republican thing. It's actually a boo Democrats. You failed. And so you need to get fired.
The President of the United States should be able to fire whoever he or she wants. The Democrats want to pass this bill to empower Democrat operatives, people that they've hired, people that they put in their administrations. They want to make sure those Democrat operatives are there to be able to undermine the next Republican president of the United States. That should not be a federal law.
That's right. And this goes for all of the people that Elon Musk is firing over at Twitter right now. Democrats are trying to keep him from being able to fire people. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was strangely prescient in this piece.
And as a business owner, I'm telling you, it's so important to be able to fire people in your company that aren't doing a good job. And it should be no different for any president. The executive branch must be able to have people working there that can be terminated.
Yeah, like most of them should be terminated.
Everyone knows the movie Pirates of the Caribbean, and on the Black Pearl, it's the second one, it has pirates on the ship that become part of the ship walls. Effectively, that's what H.R. 302 is doing.
This is genius. She's brilliant. It's true. They would literally be absorbed by the pirate ship. What a great allegory for our U.S. government. She's a little spark plug, she is.
Preventing a Patronage System Act will make employees in the executive branch just that, part of the building walls, making it impossible to get rid of them.
Part of the pirate ship. She missed that one. Not the building wall, part of the pirate ship.
So for this reason, I oppose this bill, and I urge my colleagues to vote against it, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Oh, that was so clear and beautiful. Well done. Well said.
The gentleman from Kentucky reserves. The gentlelady from New York is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to respond to the gentlelady who may not have been here when I made my previous remarks.
Oh no, here comes New York. New York? New York City?
Because I want to point out that this is not about making it hard to remove poor performers. The federal government can and does remove poor performers where appropriate, and there's a process for that. According to data from the Office of Personnel Management, the federal government removed 10,687 employees in fiscal year 2021.
That's called a real good start. Think of how much worse it would be if those people weren't fired. That's the one good news I've heard.
It's in the public's best interest to ensure that the president cannot take action that would politicize the civil service and threaten the integrity of the work that we depend on civil servants to perform every day.
No, can 'em all. This lady killed Elmo and is wearing his skin right now.
One expert on federal human resources, Jeff Neal, has explained that the tension that can exist between career employees and political appointees usually reflects the, quote, need to ensure that proposals are legal and that, quote, statutory and regulatory requirements, such as the Administrative Procedure Act, are met, end quote.
Fire them all, let God sort them out.
In other words, this tension is actually a sign that the system is working and procedures are being properly followed. That is certainly not poor performance or cause for removal. Schedule F would have improperly targeted those who ensure legality, equity, and appropriate stewardship of taxpayers' dollars.
Very well named, Entitlement F.
So I now yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, a distinguished member, a champion for workers of the Committee on Oversight and Reform, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Oh yay, we're going to go from New York to Washington, D.C. versus our girl Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia.
I thank my good friend for yielding to me, and I appreciate her correction of the prior speaker on the other side.
Oh, don't be petty. You crybaby. Look at her. This is so passive-aggressive.
Who repeatedly said that federal employees could not be fired, ignoring the figures that the chair had given of 10,000 employees fired last year. This is a civil service system.
We're not firing enough. That list was too small.
It is not a private system. It rules under the Constitution and under the rule of law. That is the difference between working for the federal government and working for a private employer.
The federal government is so bloated with freebie jobs. They all need to get greased. All of them.
I want to thank the gentlewoman for yielding to me. I speak in strong support of the Preventing a Patronage System Act. Note that word, Patronage System Act, of which I am a co-sponsor.
Nepotism, Your Honor.
This bill would prevent a future president from imposing the Schedule F scheme that would move tens of thousands of career employees into positions that would essentially be a new form of political appointment.
We got to Schedule F them.
The nonpartisan, apolitical civil service system is critically important to how our government functions. Former President Trump attempted to illegally create this new class of federal employees.
They're still talking about Trump. He's long gone. He's still all in their heads.
In contravention of the Constitution, and more specifically...
Oh yeah, you really respect the Constitution. That's where we go, to a D.C. Democrat. and in New York.
These employees' rights. We need to encourage the best to join the federal government, and this type of ploy by the prior administration would hinder that effort instead of allowing an administration to engage in patronage scheme.
Yeah, it's a scheme, a patronage scheme. It's a scheme, a scam, a scheme, a scam.
The government needs experts.
Oh, here come the experts. Look out, they're from the government. It's a government expert, unfireable government expert. That's everyone's dream to have to report to.
Not political cronies. I appreciate Congressman Conley for introducing this important bill, and I'm pleased to be able to speak in support of it. I yield back.
Joke, trash, vote them all out.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the ranking member of the Government Operations Subcommittee of Oversight, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Heiss.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you very much. I appreciate Mr. Comer for yielding to me. The numbers that were just shared are out of 2.1 million federal employees.
Boom. Yep. 2.1 million employees. Here comes. Now we're getting some truth.
And the figure is accurate. Some 10,000 were terminated in 2021. But this is a fraction. People in the private sector are 3 times more likely to be terminated for poor performance than are people in the federal government. And that's because it is so restrictive and so difficult to go through the process. And in fact, when the discussion deals with federal employees that have been on their jobs past the probationary period, the number of termination drops in half of what was just spoken of.
The good guys are still fighting. Good guys and the good lady. This has been